Your final five have been selected. From February to September, we've raced to determine who are the best of the best in the 2025 Integrity OCTANE Series. And now we have ourselves a definitive answer. With only 3 races left in the championship, this is it. The last round of playoff competition where every point and every performance matters. Your top 5 heading into this race: Ethan Lane, Nick Tarbuck, Nate Campbell, Sam Nieto, and Ross Cato. Veterans, rookies, everything between. Tonight is set to be the very first of the very end, as the only 5 can contend, but only one will win the 2025 OCTANE Series Championship. This is your 28th race of the season from Fontana, California. Welcome back live on FTN Broadcasting. I'll be your host for tonight's event. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing. We have 2 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock. Qualifying is on its way, and currently at the top of the board is Zach Schrintenol, with laps still being recorded. 32 drivers registered for today's, of course, racing session. Going to be a great one with 200 miles and 100 laps on display. Some of your top drivers are taking times right now, and Ethan Lane just shot to the pole position. Lane doing it in 1 lap, and he is confident with that time, over 1/10 of a second above the rest of the field. Lane, keep in mind, last night was able to qualify on the pole, but finished outside the top 15 due to late race damage. Now we'll see if any of his title rivals can go at him. There's Tom Wetmore. One to watch out for is Sam Nieto in the number 2. Sam getting up to 6th place on his run, and now working the high side. Ross Cato is in 7th. It's going to be Galen Gidman, who finds himself 4th, but he's behind Nate Campbell. Campbell runs 3rd. Let's see what Nate can do across the line, this time by his second of 2 laps. And Campbell, with a 40.602, will not be able to improve, but he'll stay in 3rd, and he's the second highest qualified driver in the top 5. So it'll be Lane, Campbell, then Nieto, Cato, and Nick Tarbuck. Nick sits 10th after lap number 1. He still has another one to improve ever so slightly. Coming out of turn 4, Tarbuck good to go, and it's going to be a 43.91, so that lap time going to put him up to 6th place, actually back it down to 9th place, as he's going to find himself now just outside the top half of the top 10. Brian Yazik is tied with him, but as you can see, Nick Tarbuck just less than 1,000th quicker. That'll move him up to P8 officially. Bobby Keith wraps up the top 10. And Bobby does so, the number 92, with a 40.932 lap. That's also an incredible spread between Tarbuck and Eli Cars, all of which who are within just about 1,000th of a second. Tarbuck down to 12th place in Eli Cars. The thousandths are so slim. An unbelievably close margin. Less than 10 seconds less, of course, on the clock now than that, and Ethan Lane has himself a pole position. For Lane, well, he's got the most in the Integrity OCTANE Series and the Ignite Series with 11 pole positions on Monday nights. The numbers in this series are even more unbelievable. With a double-digit total of wins, his pole position tally is just about as impressive. And for Lane, that one right there, it's going to be his 12th pole of the season, as he's vying for his 11th win on the calendar. Qualifying has concluded, practice on its way again, and the leading championship seeded driver will be the leading man here in Auto Club. Drivers getting set to go at it here. Your lineup having some new drivers tonight. Keep that in mind. We got some rookies who are making their very first start. Of course, rookies across the season, and some drivers who have come in middle way all together now. So we'll see who of the many are able to come out on top tonight. Practice for the final time, just 5 minutes for these drivers here, and it's a great field of 32. This is the highest number that we've had at the 28th race of our Octane Series season across the past 3 years, so wonderful to see. We've got great attendance and a stacked field talent-wise. Notably, the man who sits on your pole position today is a driver who was eligible to fight for the championship last season, but he couldn't, and that's the number 6 of Ethan Lane. Lane grabs the pole position inside of row number 1, and Ethan has himself there with a 40.119 second lap, head and shoulders above the field. He's got it there by more than a tenth. Zach Schrintenall is then in P2, Nate Campbell is in 3rd, and Galen Gidman is 4th. P5 is Jacob Fife, and Sam Nieto wraps up the Super 6. Nieto, Campbell, Lane, all championship contenders. Then from there, you'll have Ross Cato. Cato qualifying in 7th today. He is the 4th seeded driver, and he qualifies 4th with Blake Cannon 8th. Nick Tarbuck, the last of the championship 5 in 9th, and Brian Yazik wrapping up the top 10. Bobby Keith and Tom Wetmore sit 11th and 12th places respectively. Roadhouse on both outside line tonight. 82 of Eli Cars is 13th, Cody Smith 14th, as Brant McClendon is the last man in the top 15. Alex Kim burst onto the scene at another 2-mile circuit earlier this season, and from Michigan to Auto Club, he'll find himself in row 5 beginning today in 16th. 17th is Casey Shue, 18th is Josh Gallagher, with 19th Brock Potter and Nicholas Ward then being 20th. Outside of the top 20, Sean Kalist, Don Stevenson, Eric McFarland, Aaron Eads, and 25th place is Matt Sizzler. Kyle Cooper and Richard Smith are the final drivers to take times, and from Richard Smith, who lines up today in 27th, you'll have Jared Davis 28th, rookie Jeff Chandler in his first career start 29th, 30th for John Zabaro, and then lastly, Brad Patton and Randy Fiash positions 31 and 32 respectively. The field has assembled, they're ready to get rolling again, and it's going to be 16 completed rows from Fontana. Notably on the top of them all will be the number 6 of Ethan Lane. He'll grab the pole for a 12th time this season and begin up front alongside Zach Schrintenall. A minute and 20 some remain now as drivers are still getting their reps in. There's Sam Nieto. Campbell right now on the racetrack. Nate, a remarkable rookie, looking to go for a championship and, of course, Rookie of the Year honors all at once. Campbell getting himself on what's mostly an empty track right now. A majority of the field not going at it for the time being. And interestingly, at an oval track, we usually see more. But as you can see, coming at turn 4, Campbell has his own portion of the track all to himself. The front straightaway going to be fully his. Through turns 1 and 2. Campbell still hasn't made. His last lap didn't come invalidated. He sits 13th in this warm-up session, so a few drivers have gotten their times in, but he's sitting wide open right now when it comes to where this lineup is. Eli Carr's on the wall, some solid laps. Eli qualifying 13th. And he was really only about 1,000th of a second off from qualifying in 9th. The difference between Tarbuck down to Cars is remarkably thin. And you got 4 drivers with the same time. Nick Tarbuck just 1,000th faster. The spread between our upper mid-pack is thin tonight. Bobby Keith, an example of just that. There's Matt Sizzler. And right now, while Yazik is destroyed, it's time to reload the field and bring them on to what matters most. Your 100-lap main feature in which Ethan Lane is in control to set it off. Lane, Schrintenall, Gidman is going to be 4th, to Nate Campbell in 3rd, and Ethan is set to get things rolling again. Now, he's hoping for something better than last night. If you watch with us in the Integrity Ignite Series, while Lane was perhaps the favorite to go out there and win, just based on qualifying times anyway, he ended up involved in some late race troubles while in the top 5, and with the caution, he ended up falling to the back of the field with damage and was the last driver on the lead lap when all was said and done. Last night, Blake Cannon was able to have one of the best races of his career, a last lap error for Hunter Madalenis. He got up in the wall off his own accord, and Cannon was able to take third place in just one more lap of racing. The white flag lap, he ran away from it, and nobody was able to take it back. And so today, Cannon doesn't race as a championship contender, but he's solid there in 8th. Watch out for him tonight as he looks perhaps to bring that success back and continue getting his reps in. Lane leads Campbell in 3rd, Nieto in 6th. Then you look back, you'll have Ross Cato 7th, Nick Tarbuck in 9th. All 5 of your championship contenders qualifying in the top 10 places. With 100 laps on the table, we're most likely going to see a 50-50 split be explored. These drivers usually can only take their fuel cell up to about 90-95 miles on a comfortable basis. However, they can stretch it to 100 if they are mindful of pit strategy and tire saving, fuel saving the whole way through. It's likely we're going to get some long green flag running, so I wouldn't be too shocked to see these drivers more patient to begin with that in mind. Conditions today on the Auto Club Speedway here in Fontana, California are also relatively mild. I mean, 86 degrees ambient temperature, but the track temp might just be the kicker. You got yourself right now 111 degrees Fahrenheit worth on the track temp. Relative humidity, though, is low. It is hot, but it isn't going to be too slick. So that's going to play in a driver's favor tonight. It's going to be warm, but you're not going to be squealing around all the way through. So Ethan Lane, Zach Schrintenel, they're going to set it off. On the inside line, you have 4 of your 5 championship contenders all lined up as one. The only one who is not on the inside lines up beside Fife on the 3rd row, down low. Green flags out to begin the championship chase. This is it. 3 more races, 1 title winner. And it begins with Ethan Lane taking the green flag. We are underway in Fontana. Ethan Lane still alongside Zach Schrintenel here. Not much has changed in this early running, and it's going to be toe-to-toe for the lead. Nate Campbell on the outside getting a better surge with the number 7 car. Ethan Lane, toe-to-toe is the number 6. The 20 car of Schrintenel leads. Watch further back, and you're going to see Blake Cannon, the number 44, going at it with Jacob Fife here. So begins the challenge between the championship contenders and the guys who are going out for a win. Zach Schrintenel up in front right now, and that Toyota Camry. Odds are he's not going to be considering that championship race at all. However, the 45 of Campbell, who is quick to take the lead, is in an opposite position. He has to make sure that every position falls his way. Schrintenel, of course, is looking for the perfect opportunity to break out and keep things moving relative to his title rivals, particularly Ethan Lane. I think everyone knows that Ethan Lane is the de facto championship favorite by virtue of 10 wins and 11 pole positions. He has in total now 12 poles positions. He won one just a few minutes ago. With that said, across the entire Integrity Racing League, he has 19 race wins, so that is over 35% of all races run, even including the 4 races we have yet to run. He will sit at about a 32% win rate if he loses all of them. Knowing Ethan Lane, that is very unlikely. So on a 3-10 rate across 2 different series, Ethan Lane could go out there and win any given night. That's the statistical outcome that we've seen all throughout the season, but those aren't reflective of what we've seen of him in the championship rounds before, because this is Lane's first ever official playoff berth into the Final Five. Last season, he would have been eligible for the final round, but declined due to his participation in NASCAR Contender Series. So, the stakes are a little bit different now for Lane as he enters for the first time in what has been, over the course of a 3-season career, his first full campaign where he's able to see it through till the very end. Zach Schrintenall and now Blake Cannon going at it for the race lead. Cannon perhaps looking to back up that podium finish last time around. Of course, that was last night where he came home in third. Cannon to the point. And now he's got himself several car lengths. It just looks like he came out of a rocket in that Roadhouse Racing number 44, and now no competition. Teammate Tom Wetmore going to be 7th place right now, but an unparalleled start for Cannon. Again, Cannon and Schrintenall, and now 3rd place Galen Gidman. All are worrying not about the championship race, but about their own individual performances. This is something we saw last night where not only did a non-playoff driver end up winning, but also you saw a lot of those guys laying back throughout the top 10 rather than fully taking them to an aggressive degree. What comes of that is not only a different group of drivers up in front, but a different attitude to fight for the championship. You cannot automatically win the championship in one race. It's quite the opposite. Every point counts, and every race that you have makes a difference. So, with that said, what you're going to begin to see here is a more relaxed attitude about leading and a more competitive attitude about keeping your title contenders around you and behind you. Nate Campbell currently leads the championship race just because he's ahead of all of his championship rivals. Ethan Lane is down to 17th, and he's doing something that is expected, but it's very different from what his title rivals are doing here. Lane is in 17th, and that might not seem like a good thing, but he doesn't have a lot of damage. He doesn't have any damage, in fact. So, based on what we've seen out of Ethan Lane, this is a strategy he's pulled out before for good point stakes. You might remember in the beginning of the year, particularly on Monday nights, as Lane was more committed to the Ignite schedule to start, Ethan would do just this. He would fall to the back of the field, he would lie way back outside the top 15 and just save himself up. Lane is hedging his bets on a long green flag run today, and it shows where he's put himself. He's down to 17th here, and not only is the position a big thing, but also the situation. He's got drivers who are ahead. Oh, contact, John Stevenson, way down the track, alone in the grass. The call on the field is we are still green. Stevenson will turn it straight, but he does so with trouble, of course. Don is now at the back of the field, and you saw him knock out a 4 with contact. We'll keep it green and update you on that situation if they decide to call it to a yellow. In the meanwhile, Ethan Lane, we mentioned it, he's back here around where that incident happened. Incidentally, he has decided to put himself around a lot of drivers, but not race them per se for position. He's in the draft, he's in the tow. As long as he keeps their relative pace, he doesn't have to put as much effort in. He is going to let the air around him, aerodynamically speaking, really push through the field. And that's a simple premise. It's not difficult at all to understand, but it's difficult to put into practice over the course of a long run. Ethan Lane is putting a 100-mile bet on this race, and he's doing it in the first 20 miles. That's a lot of time unaccounted for where you cannot predict the future, and yet Lane has the numbers to back it up, no doubt about that. More top fives than anyone in this league, and so I think the track record speaks for itself in that regard. Lane is going to look for this strategy, maybe not to go out there and get a major win. I'm sure he would love to win, but where he is right now, it makes it a little trickier to stay on cycle with the leaders just because of distance. However, being in this top 5 range is very much in the question, and I wouldn't be shocked if Ethan Lane gets back in the top 10 before the pit cycle and starts really making his way up on that second stint. It would set him up nicely to be conservative early, go a little bit longer than other drivers do on stint number 1, and then go the distance from there with more aggression to finish it off. Alex Kim, what a driver he has been in his only 1 month of racing. He burst onto the scene just to end the summer stretch, and he has been unmistakable so far. He's in 5th place once again. He looked great at Michigan, and I think that's a perfect indicator of why exactly he's in the mix right now. 5th and looking for 4th. Number 37, a little bit loose there, Kim. He's going to bobble. 1 spot, 2 spot. Wetmore and Tarbuck go side by side, and had it been a little bit later, there perhaps would have been more contact. Dozen laps to do it. So far, we've seen green flag passes, swaps for the lead. Blake Cannon is holding a steady wheel ahead of Galen Gidman. Schrintenol is still in 3rd. Gidman is up from 4th to 2nd. Again, the qualifying lineup also looking a little bit different today, with some drivers who we haven't seen going all out, doing so. Maybe some of those playoff guys with that more conservative approach lying back. This is a very impressive run so far from Gidman, and of course it's only just begun, but perhaps his best run of the season could come in the form of this race. Zach Schrintenol 2nd down to 3rd. Qualifying well, he set the bar very high, as it is for Nate Campbell. Campbell leads the championship race over Nick Tarbuck, and while Tarbuck qualified last of all the championship contenders, he now sits in 2nd. Take a ride on board now with the number 4 and briefly as he rides with Wetmore. Down the back straightaway, 13 laps in out of 100. It's toe-to-toe now between Burton and Tarbuck. Well, that's going to be Harrison Burton's paint scheme, represented by Brent McClendon, and he'll burst onto the scene here. Brent qualified in 15th, but has very quickly become a contender. Now the number 21, backed by Dex Imaging, that Ford Mustang is in the confines of a top 10 performance. And just like that, he might be able to get into the top 5. Tom Wetmore here watches the rearview mirror, and he does so and chooses to act on it ever so slightly. He'll take it up to the high side here, back it down low, not quite, but he will keep on watching. Mostly single file at the head of the pack. You got some double file racing here, but while Auto Club is great for inhibiting 4 wide moments, great moments, mind you, very exciting. What you're also noticing is that there's not a lot of double file racing going on, even though this track is huge. We have 5 grooves across the track at any given time, plus the apron. You could go 6 wide here, and yet we're not seeing a lot more than 2 wide at any given moment. That also is deliberate. And I think right now, even if you're not going for the extreme route, if you're an Ethan Lane who's fallen back now to 18th place, and he's really dropped back, so he's committed to that bit, as you see him all the way in the back of the field with Jared Davis here. You don't have to be that committed to going far back without, of course, disregarding what's next to come, which means that these drivers are focused on the fact that there still will be some big strategy changes, and the way the racing is to act on it. Casey Shue right now in the number 5, he's taken up the Exalta number 5 very well. It's interesting to see it because Casey's had this for the second half of the season, and we've seen some good runs out of Casey Shue in that team as he's taken on Thomas Bressy's flagship JTM paint scheme. JTM Motorsport, the big 3 out of that enterprise: Justin Morton, Thomas Bressy, and of course Matthew Thunhorst. Those guys have been carrying the program on the Integrity Ignite Series side, but it's been Casey Shue's job to carry the banner over here on Tuesday nights, and now he's taken that flagship scheme for our 3-time final round, actually 4-time final round entrant, Thomas Bressy, and now bringing that here, maybe hoping to replicate more of that success. Wetmore's got number 20 of Zach Schrintenol all over him as he gets up to 3rd. 51 of Wetmore goes way high. Schrintenol going to be with. There's Nate Campbell dropping down. What's interesting right now is, we say it, double file. It's going to happen a time or two, but it's also spread out. It's interesting. Most just because this isn't the usual thing you see out of these drivers over the course of a long run at a 2-mile track. And we're going to keep stressing it. This is interesting racing. Even if it's not the most exciting, what's going on right now will set the tone for the rest of the season. And what a rest of the season we have scheduling-wise, because that's where every driver's focus is from here. You don't have a lot of opportunities, and the ones you do are going to be tricky. We're going to Martinsville next week. Martinsville in the Ignite Series, just as a preface, was difficult. We had 19 cautions over the course of 200 laps. It could have gone better. It was actually over the course of 175 laps that we had those 19 cautions. It could have gone a little better. That's without a doubt. But these next gens are also known for being able to take a beating and do so well. The last time any driver won in the clutch at Martinsville, you got to look back to 2023, where Ross Cato was able to make his way 7th to 14th he is right now. Not the best start for Cato, but he was able to win in the biggest situation of his career to that point and come away with a victory that sent him to the final round. He ended up finishing second in the championship points that season. Ross right now has his back against the wall in a similar spot. He's made it to the final 5, but he doesn't have a win to his name. Lane does, Tarbuck does, Campbell and Nieto, of course. We got the veteran Nieto, Campbell, the rocket ship rookie. Ross Cato has been the model of consistency and just making it through. But has he hit his ceiling, or will he continue to prove he's got more in the tank? That's still the big question. He's ahead of Ethan Lane right now, and he's not too far back on Nate Campbell, so while things aren't starting off badly, Martinsville might just be the best opportunity for a man who has already proven he can do the impossible at that very venue. Blake Cannon is 2 seconds up on the next driver. Galen Gidman is in the same zip code, but he's not particularly close when it comes to making a pass. Gidman still has the number 21 of McClendon behind. Brandt is now up 13 places. Tom Wetmore is up a firm 12. 29th to 7th. Brad Patton has come back, and he has come back in amazing form. I mean, we mentioned it last week. Finally, we see the number 7 come through. We knew that he was unfortunately going to have to miss the round of 10, which meant his championship run came to an end. That's how Sam Nieto was actually able to take that 11 seed and turn it into a top 5 runner. But Brad looks like he is still at that championship level form. Getting back to the sim, winning for the second time this season, and now he's got a crooked letter alongside his win total. That is fantastic for Brad. It's his best season yet, just by virtue of this late season surge. And win number 3 might just be on the horizon with the way he's been pulling, now 29th up to 5th. That is a 24-place gain above everyone. Of course, he's gone through nearly the whole field, doing it on his own terms. Tarbuck just behind Nick right now, watching as he's gotten himself ahead of the number 45 and Nate Campbell. Campbell dropping back to 13th, and his early aggression might be costing him here. That time by 42.198 from Nate Campbell, about 2 seconds slower than his qualifying time. Nick Tarbuck 41.568, 7/10 slower, or rather, that's 7/10 slower Campbell was. Nick Tarbuck 7/10 faster than the number 45, and Nick being just about a second slower than his qualifying run here. So while Campbell struggles and falls back, that or he's just getting to the tail end of the line, it gives Nick the opportunity to lead the championship race at this point. Again, today, the championship race leader will be determined by just whoever finishes ahead of the next driver. So we're watching intently with that in mind. We don't know whether or not it's going to be any of those 5 drivers. We don't know which of them will lead at the end, but as it runs, it would be the leader of the championship points, Nick Tarbuck. Set to change, subject to change, absolutely. But right now, the number 4 Tarbuck has it made and leads the way through. 9th, up to 6th, up 3 places, and from being the weakest qualifier of his bunch to now the strongest up in front a quarter of the way through. That's a great up and up story for Nick Tarbuck, but will it remain the same when everyone else comes back to get him? Sam Nieto right now, the number 2, also a driver to watch out for. Haven't spoken of him much. He's in 19th here. Ethan Lane has gotten back up to 15th. Then you look a little further up the line, there's Nate Campbell. Ross Cato is running in 11th and now is second highest of all the championship drivers. Tarbuck is the only one in the top 10. Interesting. Everyone else has fallen way back, and Nick has decided to stay in the mix, and he's coming up for a few more spots. Taking a ride on board in the 1 and 2 as Tarbuck now chases Wetmore and tries to go for 4th. Taking it all the way up to the high side, and nobody else has decided to do that here. Tarbuck is really at the ceiling of the circuit, while Wetmore has decided to take more of the middle. Tom here, P4, his teammate leading, Roadhouse Racing set for what could be another great night. While neither of these drivers are contending for the Octane Series championship, Blake Cannon still has one more trick up his sleeve, and that will come in the form, of course, of the Ignite Series title race. They'll be going at it for 2 more nights, and that's the unbelievable part. We are coming toward the end of the schedules, and it's been a fast season of racing. And for someone like Blake Cannon, who's been so immersed, doing double duty week after week, it's quite the shock. Bristol Motor Speedway is up next on the Ignite Series schedule. You've got Martinsville, which is going to be right up next for the Octane guys. It's a short track week no matter what. No matter which series you race in, you're going to be dealing with the smallest tracks on our circuit when it comes to the schedule. That's undeniable, indisputable. It's a big challenge. Who's going to rise up to it still remains the question. Nobody is even close to Blake Cannon, and better yet, he has extended his lead, and now Brad Patton is looking at it relative to Brant McClendon. They'll be fighting for second. This would be the highest that Patton has run all night long. 29th up to 3rd, gaining 26th. Brant McClendon, 15th up to 2nd. He has put on 13 today. Among the both of them, they have gained more than 30 spots. 13 for McClendon, 26 for Brad Patton. That's a total of 39 spots across a 32-driver field. And these two are in your podium making those gains. Wetmore now going to try to swoop into that podium, and it looks like Brad Patton, while he put the heat on McClendon, no way to stop Wetmore with a surge up high. Double trouble. The 51 buys one and gets one free. But it looks like he'll have to return to sender. Up high, the 51 goes. McClendon now gets to the inside. Patton goes lower. Brad will meet him there, and to the apron comes the 7. Into 1 and 2, Brad is going to be the eventual winner of that battle, and he'll take up to 2nd. Interesting how quick that came and went for Brad Patton, as he went from outside of the leading conversation. Of course, Wetmore taking it away, McClendon being ahead of him and being in 4th, to going right back in it. So Brad able to recover and do so quickly. Great to see out of the number 7 here. Blake Cannon going to come across the line once again, and for him, the number 44 team, it's going to be a 3-second advantage he's gunning for this time by. Does he get it? It looks like at the line he just does. 3.006 relative to Brad Patton. And that's the edge that Cannon has gotten, only expanding, and it looks like he still has more in the tank for it. Up high now, Brad Patton is going to go. So does Brant McClendon. It's a lot more like what we saw out of Nick Tarbuck. And now Tarbuck is going to see drivers on his line. That's only going to help him out and bring more power to the number 4. Swooping down low, here comes Tarbuck. And watch now as Cannon decides to go a little higher. Cannon's not all the way up to that final line of shade until the exit of the corner here, but it looks like right now the high side is preferential, even if it's a little bit more distance. I think some of that has to do with tire saving. Watching the fuel numbers, Ethan Lane, it looks like, is back on his rebound. He's just gotten by Nate Campbell. That's going to be for the 9th position. He'll get it there, and here comes another pass. Nate Campbell's going to try to get him on the outside and get that return spot. That will send Lane back further up. And here comes Casey Shue surging down to the bottom. We'll watch for him if anything happens. Focusing specifically on Lane and Campbell, this is a battle between championship drivers, contenders who want to get it done. Galen Gidman, watch what happens for the 0-4. He's in 10th, and it looks like now he's got pressure from another title contender, Ross Cato. 3 of your title guys are within 5 places from one another. Now Ross opts to duck low, and as he does so, he's got it, and that's going to be Cato getting it in. And briefly for 10th, Galen Gidman on the outside will resurge and take the spot again. Now, Ross Cato officially sitting there. Just a brief back and forth. Alex Kim in 12th might be able to take 11th place if you can just get in this battle. Still, Ethan Lane having some troubles getting on Ethan Lane, of course, is Nate Campbell. And Campbell through the middle will not be denied. Coming out of the corner, Lane is close. Does he have the run? I don't think he does. Well, it looks like he's going to prove us wrong there. Even from the inside, Ethan Lane faster, and he'll take another spot. 8th place, Ethan Lane, and now it's going to be Cody Smith in 7th, right up next to take it. Jacob Fife in P6 is just behind Cody Smith. Smith having a quietly strong race. Cody tonight, running from 14th, now 7 spots up, just passed by Jacob Fife, mind you. But either way, he's been in the top 5 conversation for more than half of the laps that we've seen. Oh, Brad Patton! Patton way up the track, and he slows down immensely. Everyone gets away. He will save it, but as he wiggles loose, big shuffle. Cody Smith able to get across and through. That puts him up now just behind Wetmore and company. Cannon leads, but Cody Smith now takes 3rd. Nate Campbell is going to be just beside him. And Campbell takes P3 and takes it right back from Smith. That was the definition of unsafe and outright risky. Luckily, Brad Patton was able to put it back together, but you can see he's got damage on the right side, and so he is going to have to pull that thing in. Patton to pit road, and after running so well to start, he's got damage that's going to take a long while to be repaired under green. No caution is going to fly, so Patton with no saving grace, and he will head down to pit road, and he's going to have to settle himself out. As he comes down, he won't be alone. You'll see right there, Nick Tarbuck also coming in. Tarbuck looks to be on a 2-stop call. With this being said, 37 laps in, he'll be one of the first of the night to enter, and doing so far before the halfway point. No signal given by Tarbuck on any of our communication, so that means that it was a planned stop, but nothing else was reported out. No other drivers up in the head of the field had decided to go through so far. Taking a look at our last pit lap data, and for the most part, every driver still on their original stint. Side by side for 2nd place, Nate Campbell now and Tom Wetmore. Wetmore going to fall to the outside and fall back on Nate Campbell. Campbell again is going to lead this championship race, and Nate in the number 45 takes it to the point. Then you will have Ethan Lane, then Ross Cato, and further back is Sam Nieto in 10th. Lastly, Nick Tarbuck, who just went down to pit road. Lane low, and as he goes into 5th here, he's got himself to the bottom looking for 2 passes. Gets by Smith, just beside Tom Wetmore. Will Wetmore get him at the line? It looks like yes, he will, but Lane is not going to leave him clear. Cody Smith gets toe-to-toe. Ethan gets sent it deeper into corner number 1, and that's what he would do. This is the battle for 3rd, and it's very quickly, it could become the battle again for the title lead. From as low as 18th, Lane has been able to line himself up, drive up through the field, and he is again the man to look out for more than anyone else. If you're Nate Campbell right now, maybe you're not panicking just yet, but you got to consider your opportunities and options when Lane comes around. What can you do, and how long can you defend before the number 6 takes your spot? That's what he's done all season long, and he has made no obscurity of his decisions. He's got the stuff, he's got the pace, and he will get around you. That's always been his end goal, but Nate Campbell now, in the most important situation of his season, cannot afford to let it happen and fall back. And so what I think he's going to do here is defend like his season depends on it, because it absolutely does. Coming to lap number 40. Still, most drivers have not gone down and in, so we will update you when we see more come into pit road. Brad Patton and Nick Tarbuck alike are going to disconnect, and so it looks like that was not a scheduled stop for the number 4. Tarbuck is going to find himself out of this race, and we're going to try to review why that was the case here. You can see, oh, he has damage, and definitely got it from what happened with Brad Patton. And so, with that said, all the way up to the top of the track, he got out of the way, and Tarbuck just didn't have the stuff to keep on going. Front end damage and suspension damage. Yeah, the left front locked up. And you can see as we replay his last lap of action, he was struggling to keep that thing moving. Watch what happens through the corner here. And he ended up dragging the car to pit road with 3 functional wheels. For Tarbuck, horrible championship implications, and he will have to go all the way out in the next 2 races to win that title. That leaves us with 4 on the track tonight contending, leader of which is Campbell, then Lane, then Cato, then Sam Nieto. And there comes the discussion of the good and bad of our championship race here. The issue is, of course, perhaps good for some drivers, bad for others. Every of those 5 drivers, they are on a level playing field. They all come in with the same amount of points. So they're basically starting from 0. It's as if they have no points to their name, and they're all going at each other with these next 3 races being the only points that are counted for the championship, which means every point and every position matters. For the drivers who came in as lower seeds, well, that's a great thing no matter what. Say you're Ross Cato, who doesn't have the 10 wins Ethan Lane has. So long as he stays consistent and stays up there in the front of the pack, he's going to have a very real chance of staying up there in the title race no matter what. However, if you're one of those drivers like Nick Tarbuck, who had a great regular season, had a great set of playoff rounds, you're going to not benefit in the slightest. In fact, you're going to see your season detracted by only relying on these last 3 races. And so with one incident, you can really put yourself further behind, and that's the exact situation Nick will be in now as Blake Cannon decides to go into pit road, and as he does, it's the number 44, one of the first to head in. See there, the 44's entry. We replayed it briefly. There's nobody else around him here on the track who's decided to dive in. And so he'll come in at lap number 44 earlier than basically everyone around him. And I think a little too early to really consider that one-stop strategy. So hopefully, for Nate Campbell, of course, Nate and Campbell, they're going to find themselves together again for the long term. We're looking right now at Campbell finding himself P1. Blake Campbell, those 2 drivers, they were running up in the head of the field. Blake going down to pit road, Campbell staying out. Ethan Lane in second here, but that might change. Campbell watching on the bottom, Ethan Lane up high, and this battle has been brewing for a while. And for the past 10 laps or so, Lane has been behind the 45. He just hasn't been able to make his way through. Take a ride on board with Ethan Lane, and we'll talk you through what's going on inside the cockpit, as Ethan is as close as it gets. Clutching and coasting. That's what's going on. Lane deciding not to push all too aggressively as he tries to save what little he can for his final run, which will be after lap number 50 here. The big goal right now is to make the most of these laps when it comes to just getting through the distance. You're not going to be really fast going at it. Way that he is, Lane, he's losing more than a second a lap just by saving, getting off the power, and letting the engine do less work, letting the driver do more. From Nate Campbell's onboard perspective, we'll see if he's doing the same thing. I wouldn't be too shocked, as both of them have the same goal of going past lap 50. Check this out. Now, Campbell is actually going to be on the throttle somewhat more than Lane, and notably, the engine never cuts out. Lane is going to the extremes of saving his stuff here and keeping himself with as much potential distance as possible. The more fuel, the more you can travel, the less fuel you use, the more you can go. And that's the simple logic that Ethan Lane is using to make what is one of the biggest decisions of the night, committing to going the distance. So the longer he can go, the better he can have a run that suits his needs in the second half of this race. Ross Cato getting up into P5 here, and it's going to be side-by-side between he and Jared Davis. Add to that, Sam Nieto right there as well. Nieto heading down to the inside, Ross Cato right up top, and so it's going to be toe-to-toe for position 6 and 7 across two of your championship contenders. Now that they're locked tight, it's going to be Nieto that just gets ahead, and he'll be putting down the defense on the driver, the number 12 here. Ross Cato watching, waiting. We'll see if he gets another opportunity as even Blake Cannon now into the mix. Cannon, however, is a lapper, and he's looking to get his one lap back to put himself up in front again. Side by side, Jared Davis is now with Cannon. 48 laps in out of 100, just about halfway through. A little bit of a nudge there. Cody Smith is going to feel it for sure. And Cannon gets on his way. Nothing you can do right now. When you go at it against Blake Cannon, he just has significantly newer tire. And you can't beat new tire. Here come the teammates alongside each other. That's going to be a brief moment across Blake Cannon and Tom Wetmore. Side by side amongst each other. Number 44, briefly there. He's going to immediately rock it out and take the lead of this fight. It's not going to be for position anyway, but among teammates, you'll see now a lot more out of the number 44. But if Cannon is able to do more right now, how much more can he do? Here is the big problem. He's juggling the weight of a longer second stint with the benefit and the pleasure of being able to put down as many fast laps as he wants right now. Short-term gain, is it a long-term loss? That's the question. When you compare it right now to the restraint of Nate Campbell, the restraint of Ethan Lane to go 50-plus laps and struggle through this run, then they're going to have themselves less to struggle for next time by. It's side by side, and at the halfway point, they're going to be fighting for it. Lane just barely gets it. Ethan Lane is going to lead through lap number 51 and take the halfway marker, and now Nate Campbell's going to get the lead right back. We are starting to see drivers commit to pit road. It looks like Richard Smith is going to make that call from 19th on the field, and so he'll be making it around next time by. Campbell and Lane separate again, and while Lane was eager to get that halfway marker in his favor, Nate Campbell decided to drop down first at the end of lap number 51. Campbell is in. It's an undercut for the 45. It's the leading man of Lane in P1, and also going for what we consider the overcut. 50 laps remaining. Zach Schrintel, Ross Cato, now going to be 5th and 4th. Advantage Cato, Jared Davis is going to be 3rd, Sam Nieto is broken out for 2nd. It's now a better part of a 2.5 second gap between Cato and Sam Nieto. That's a pretty big deal. And it will be a bigger deal when drivers go down to pit road. But Ross is signaling in this time by. We'll see if Sam Nieto decides to go with. Watching these battles, Campbell and Lane have been at each other. Ross, Cato, and Sam Nieto. Nieto stays out. And as he does so, Ethan Lane peels in. So Sam will be the latest of your championship contenders to head down to pit road. Lane comes in. He'll be followed by Ross Cato. And just like that, with already Nate Campbell taking his stop, got some separation. Nieto stays out the longest, Campbell stays out the shortest, and just right in between, Ethan Lane and Ross Cato. I would hesitate to say it's the just right call just yet, but being in the middle has the best of both worlds, but it also has the worst because you don't fully commit to going one way or the other. We'll see what happens here. 4 tires and fuel, and Nate Campbell getting around. He's coming down the front straightaway as we speak. Will he meet up with Ethan Lane on the way out? Now we find out. I don't think it's going to be meeting up. He clearly beats him there. Look at that. Lane is a dot on the radar, and he is far out in the head. Sam Nieto's on the track, though. Nieto's still going as he's now going to see Campbell get back on the lead lap, but Ethan Lane falls behind. Lane gets on the way. He's going to have the pull of Jared Davis to help him out. Ross Cato has the pull of Zach Schrintenal, and so it begins again. The only driver they're waiting on is Sam Nieto. Nieto has not yet gone in, but he has to very soon. He's coming around for the end of lap number 54, and he will concede. Sam Nieto to pit road this time by. And finally, the number 2 machine makes it in. Blake Cannon holding out. Nate Campbell has now taken his stop, and he's going to cycle through. There's Ethan Lane trying to go back at it and get with the number 45. Lane holds the fort, of course, with the statistics, but tonight it's anyone's race. And right now it looks like the advantage is going to fall with Nate Campbell as he goes down to pit road a little bit earlier, and so he gets back on the way and has the edge of all. Sam Nieto, the last driver to do it here, and you can see him finally making it in, a holdout, and he at long last makes it into pit road. Looking at our stint data, you'll now begin to see that split really evident across all drivers. Cannon going into pit road at lap 44, Campbell at lap number 52, Lane at lap number 53, and of course Sam Nieto, who just went down and in, he had himself going at the end of lap number 54, and where his pit stall was, he might have been called in for 55, and yes he was. So Nieto, compared to Campbell, you got several laps of spread, and while that doesn't sound like a lot, 52 compared to 55, that's 2 miles each and every lap. So you got lap 52, lap 53, lap 54, and you come in at 55, you've done at least 6 miles in that interval, and then you got a 6-mile difference to deal with for the rest of the race. Not as easy as it sounds, and when the tire wear really comes in and you start to see those tenths of a second shave off of the best drivers, then you're going to understand. Not easy. Not easy to deal with the tire fall off, and when you have that big difference, and it pronounces itself more in the later going, then it's going to become problematic. Here's Jared Davis, who's running now from 28th up to 5th. Davis is one of those drivers who's on an alternate call right now. Blake Cannon is leading those on what looks to be a 2-stop strategy. Davis, lap 52, he went in. He was running a little different prior hand, but now finds himself right up with the leading group. He's one of those at the back of the field with Ethan Lane, but it looks like he, among the number 6, have been able to escalate, get back up in front. Galen Gidman running 7th, Ross Cato 8th, Zach Schrintenal 9th, and Bobby Keith is hanging on tight to that 11th place qualifying spot. In fact, he's 1 spot ahead, running in 10th place, so he's 1 position ahead of where it all began. For the 92 of Bobby Keith, he could have very well qualified in 9th, less than 1,000th of a second slower than Nick Tarbuck, and that minuscule difference, barely perceptible, almost impossible to tell, that's what shot him off the top 10 in qualifying. But right now he runs the top 10, and so does Ross Cato. Take a look on board with the number 12. Ross now going to have his way. Galen Gidman dropping back, and the 12 with another critical spot gained. Campbell leads the championship race, then Lane, then Cato, the top 3 as they run. Nieto has a lot of work to do since he is so far behind, but he has the youngest set of rubber, and so that's something that should balance out over the course of the next coming laps. He might be able to get back up to the top 10 by the end of the next 15-lap stretch. Oh, trouble. Eli Cars, and the call on the field has to be a caution. Yes, it is. Take a look at what happened with the number 82. Eli with a significant issue. And it looks like he was on his own through 1 and 2, but what happened after that? Your 13th place qualifier with problems as he was loose. Through 3 and 4. Cars alone, and it looks like he just slipped up and saw problems. Coming out of turn 4, tagged the wall, dropped to the inside, overcorrected on the apron, and came up the track. Yellow flags out, first of the day, and after a long, nearly 60-lap stretch, we see the caution at lap number 57. Cars is back on the way right now as they sort the field out. 41 laps to go, however, and we have a little bit of time under caution. With that said, we'll bring a message from our friends at iRacing.com in the meanwhile and bring you back with less than 40 laps remaining. Blake Cannon leads a field of 30+, and if you'd like to join the fun on FTN Broadcasting, there's no better place to go than iRacing to start your sim racing journey. Blake Cannon and Nate Campbell, your top two. We'll be right back after this. Register today at iRacing.com to learn more about the world's leading online simulator, and we'll return after these messages.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
Blake Cannon will lead him with 38 laps remaining. Drivers settling in once again for what is your first restart of the day. We had an incredible opening run, and while that's going to break the race up somewhat now, everyone on a level playing field with tires. An easy in, easy out stop for the 44 crew. Sees Nate Campbell now beside him, Sam Nieto behind him, and diagonal will be Ethan Lane on the second row. Ross Cato is not too far back himself. Don't count out Cato. He is in 6th place and runs in row 3. He is still very much in the fight. Bringing it back to business. Pace cars low. Cato, further back, furthest back. Lane and Nieto meet. And now it's Cannon and Nate Campbell. Way high, Zach Schrintenol, the only driver to fall out of line, and a little bit of a bunch up mid-pack. Everyone else gets away. Green flags out. Back on the move with 39 laps to go. 4 wide, first time all night long. It's Ethan Lane, 4 wide high. He'll make it stick for third. Swap down to the bottom for second. Unbelievable. Blake Cannon has to block for fear that he'll lose something as well. That was ridiculous, but it was clean, and there's nothing you can say about it when nobody gets harmed in the affair. Wow. Ethan Lane, again, swapping down to the bottom. He'll take the race lead. Blake Cannon, I'm sure, shocked to see that all come through. 4 wide. Ethan Lane had to make it back from that second row, and he was immediately defended from the inside and the middle, and yet nothing could stop him there. Now Cannon's going to try to take that high side and do the exact same thing and do it over. This time, Lane will be the one that feels the wrath. Side by side, not quite yet. Now diving low goes Blake. Blake surges to the bottom. He'll drive up the track, crossover maneuver, and it's as textbook as it comes. Lane takes it back for his own. These two drivers have only fought sparingly for a race win before. Well, they've been around each other for the better part now of 2 seasons. It's usually another driver that's gotten in their way one way or another. Or if Cannon has a great night, Lane not so much, and vice versa. It's great to see these two who are at the top of their game, one series or another, going toe-to-toe, but now the championship contenders want their say. Ross Cato runs in 4th. Now, of course, 4th among the title contenders, but he runs 5th overall in this race. Nate Campbell is going to find himself 3rd overall if he can only get by Blake Cannon. It's going to be back and forth that's gone at it for the last few laps between these two. Advantage is again Cannon, and he will lay down a mean block in the number 45. Look at Campbell here, surging low. Ross Cato toe-to-toe again with the number 45. And a nice maneuver off the exit of that corner. Campbell able to keep his momentum with Ross Cato. And it's been difficult so far for drivers off the inside of corners to keep that speed. Ethan Lane notably did it in his fight for the lead earlier on against Campbell, but that was one example, and it was admittedly one exception among what has been a long-standing problem for these drivers at any oval. And it's hard at Auto Club for one other reason. This track is large, but it doesn't have as sharp banking compared to those 1.5 miles and intermediates. That's something that is unique to the 1.5 mile tracks. Michigan and Auto Club aren't exactly as sharp in that respect, and while it's of course a huge track with a lot to work with, you can't exactly rely on the banking the exact same way. Side by side, into turns 1 and 2, Sam Nieto takes the race lead. Nieto was not able to hang on that time by, and it looks like he's going to get into the wall, rush up there, very close. Ethan Lane was to getting up with him, but it looks like that time by, Nieto catching the wall was a big problem. Luckily, he'll get through with little issue. 33 laps remaining. The 44 of Blake Cannon here, getting up to the ceiling of the circuit, and now we're starting to see a little bit more multi-groove action. Way down to the bottom, Sam Nieto. Nieto, second groove, now going from top to bottom. Ethan Lane takes top, Nieto goes low. Blake Cannon swaps from where he was all the way up high and instead takes it to the bottom again. You're seeing changes, and changes fast. And add to this, you got Ross Cato. Cato looking dissatisfied with 4th, and I think it's about time now. He wants to head into the podium. He is getting quicker and quicker, Cato, over the course of this race. Ross all of a sudden has electrified that number 12 team. Endeavor Racing's flagship man, their one and only horse in this championship race, has been running outside of the top 10 for the majority of the night. And for some of it, most of your championship drivers have not been in the mix. Right now, it looks like it's going to be all of them except for Nick Tarbuck fighting right alongside each other, but that's something that hasn't been remarkably consistent over the course of the day. It's changed up now, but Cato is the last part of that spark that's really lit up, and he has done so now excellently. 3 wide, up high. Here comes Cato again, trying to make it stick. Blake Cannon is going to see him boxed up. Campbell slots into line. They're single file again. The only driver down low is Cody Smith. That's for about 10th. And Nieto leads lane. The stakes are higher than ever, and I think no matter who you are absolutely feeling it. It doesn't matter if you're going to be Sam Nieto right now, who's laying down the law, putting down the pressure, or if you're Ethan Lane, who's in the middle of it, or Ross Cato, who is now that last driver trying to really fight. So far, it looks like for Cato anyway, he's still there, digging. Nate Campbell is going to be sent to the back for a brief moment. He finds himself fourth. And to think that being P4 means that you're in a very disadvantageous position. These are the best drivers in the series, and they are proving it right now. Lined up 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're going for a title. Nobody else will stand in their way. Look behind Sam Nieto. He's got the best of the best all over him. And now it's going to be a big fight to the finish, and perhaps the biggest fight all season long, as all of the aces are together, ready to challenge for the throne. Ethan Lane, right here, just behind. He's been there for the better part of this race. I mean, all throughout it, he's been up and down, yes, but when he got back to the lead in the mid-40s, he has been impossible to stop. Your pole sitter, as low as 18th, has seen the lows, and he's done so intentionally, and he certainly has seen the highs, and right now is an example of seeing those highs again. 29 laps to go as we head into the final stretch. The checkered flag draws nearer and nearer, and now Cato gets up to the top side again. Watch for Nate Campbell. Campbell is now going to find himself the last of these 4, and this is a position he really hasn't been in for the majority of the night. For a while there was Tarbuck who was further back, but then Nick was able to make his way, get back up to the head of the circuit before his incident, and then you had Ross Cato running behind. No longer is that the case, and instead, it looks like the problem is going to be for Campbell right now. The ceiling is higher than ever before. And to finish it off, get the job done properly, well now, you've only got to elevate yourself to a higher extent. Ross Cato taking that literally as he gets to the high side of the circuit, and that's where Campbell's able to get him. Side by side for the race lead, perhaps. Here comes the number 6 of Lane. He'll take it low. Sam Nieto's got it up top. Dropping to the bottom. Lane decisively takes the pass for the race lead, makes it his, and again the 6 is up and ahead. Nate Campbell has gone from the bottom of this top 4 lineup and now looks for second, and as we said he had to elevate his game, he will so quickly do it. 27 laps to go. Blake Cannon is still the spoiler watching it all. If anything happens up in front, or even if it doesn't, Cannon's got the speed to intrude whenever he needs to. Blake right now, just a nudge to Nate Campbell. That's only the signal he will give. And he'll rush up the track again. Contact? No, not right there between Campbell or Cato. It looks like instead they're both going to be able to get away with just a minor shake. 26 laps remaining. Ethan Lane drops it to the inside. Gets ahead of Sam Nieto even further now, more than 1/10 of a second. Ross Cato no longer third place, as he's actually going to find himself fourth again. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's been a shuffle. Lane has been everywhere. So is Sam Nieto. So is Campbell. So is Cato. They know each other's positions. They've been there. They've done that. And now we're going to figure out who of them will finish where. Nobody wants to be where they are right now unless you're Ethan Lane. I think all 4 of these drivers think that they've got the stuff to win. But to win is to out-finish. It's to outscore. score, of course, is the biggest goal. You cannot expect, no matter who you are in this circumstance, whether you are running in fourth or second or third, or of course if you're leader, to be unchallenged right now. I think even to hang on to fourth place is going to be a challenge. You're watching as right behind is Ross Cato. It's going to be now Jared Davis. Davis might just stay in the mix, and he might cause a little bit more of a problem as he intrudes and gets into the fight. And if he does so, well, you're going to see a little bit more difficulty for Cato, and it might become more difficulty for a driver like, say for instance, Nate Campbell, or even Sam Lieto or Ethan Lane. These are drivers right now, all four of them, who are alongside each other, and they are together. They want to make big moves, but they're doing so for their own individual causes. So what happens when a driver who is in the mix, who has been in the mix, who doesn't have a championship at stake, gets involved? We still don't have the answer. And now with Davis getting up there and Cannon falling back, it's another driver who wants it. He'll take it down to the inside with 23 laps to go. Coming to 22 this time by, and with Lane leading, we'd like to thank our friends at Whiplash SimCams for today's camera angles. Whiplash has been bringing you the action with the best camera angles in the business all season long for the Integrity Racing League, and for any broadcaster, we can't recommend going anywhere else. Now, of course, if you want to try them out for the very first time, you can do so for free. Visit their Discord server and learn more about what it takes to join the Whiplash SimCams family. Trial packages for big circuits like Charlotte are always available. So with that said, 22 laps to go from Fontana, California, and it's about time now that we crank it up here with 22 remaining in your opening round of the championship fight. We've got trouble. We've got a caution. Your second of the day with 20 laps remaining. Problem at the back of the field. And we're turning back the clock to figure out what just happened. It's going to be John DeBarro with the spin. Take a look at this. DeBarro in the 61 through turns 1 and 2 here. And it looks like he was at the back of the pack. This was actually the back of the upper mid-pack, around 12th or 13th. Starts with Brant McClendon getting very loose, and you start seeing guys shaking up. But then the number 61 team, and DeBarro, of course, ending up being with the biggest problem and dropping back. Side by side with Kyle Cooper. DeBarro skates up, and it looks like just contact with Cody Smith. That's not a great angle. We'll bring it back to you one more time with a better look. And it looks like he met up with Smith. And as they went through turn 4, they ended up having a problem. 19 laps to go, and we will have about 16, if that, from here on out. Cody Smith was ahead of DeBarro through the entire affair. That's where it all began. The 18 is Smith up high. And DeBarro slowly but surely working up there. Contact, nudged down, and DeBarro overcorrecting it, or not being able to correct it at all, and he slides, and luckily nobody else hits him. Caution is out. John back on the way. He should be able to continue. And it's going to be Ethan Lane, your leader, to head to pit road. For the final time tonight, everyone comes down and in. This is the big one. 4 tires and fuel has been the regular recipe all through. But with time to spare, of course, less time to worry about, maybe you're going to see someone do something different. Watching your pit road exit, what's going to happen now? Lane comes in first. He has that pole position stall. He can exit quickly, and exit quickly he will. Ethan gets it over Nate Campbell, then Ross Cato, then Jared Davis, Blake Cannon, and Tom Wetmore. That's the way they run out of it with 18 laps to go. And very quickly does the advantage come again for Lane. So, after Wetmore's Blake Cannon, Alex Kim, Jacob Fife, Galen Gidman, Sam Nieto, and lastly, Cody Smith. We'll restart with 16 laps to go. Lane again gets the edge. And in having the front row, of course, and having that pole position as he started, he can do just about whatever he needs to do to make it stick. Victory lane is not far at all for Campbell, Cato, or Sam Nieto. Nieto is going to fall back on this strategy call, and it looks like he's going to find himself at the tail end of the top 10. But even still, the distance is something that he can overcome in the next few laps. 16 to go when we return. Setting it off with Lane and Campbell again, the front row. Ethan so far has been able to make it through the majority of this race, a little bit more so than he did last night, and has remained at the top level of the field. The only thing that we've seen stop him so far this season was what got him last time around, just getting involved in an incident. If he avoids a caution, it's very hard to have him avoid a win. We'll see what's up next as it's Lane to lead restart number 2. Ross Cato lines up behind Ethan Lane. Jared Davis directly behind Nate Campbell. So watch what happens here as you start to see a little bit more competition tightening up. Not just your championship contenders, but again an opportunity for that full reset. Get it back together. Non-playoff guys just fighting for their own win, given a second chance, literally in the form of a second restart, to win it again. Green flag for the number 6 of Lane, rolling through the gears, back in business. Green flags out with only 16 laps to go. Ross Cato immediately gets now to Ethan Lane's inside, and that's about as close as he's been to the race lead all night long. He can't stop what he's got going on. Ross Cato now diving for it, but it's going to send him back. That'll give Campbell the opportunity to maintain in second. Ethan Lane holds fort for first. And here now comes the number 6 to the line with 15 laps remaining. He'll get a 10th and a half out of that affair. Just a brief push from Cato. That's going to stifle Nate Campbell. He has to account for it, has to work it back, and now push forward. The challenges of working alongside and seeing multiple grooves racing. Contact, Kyle Cooper up the track. It looks like everyone gets away. Yazik scraping the wall, as did Brent McClendon. Luckily, all those scrapes and all those scars look to be minimal, and everyone continues on with little to worry about. Alex Kim going to be running in 8th place right now. Watch out for the 37. This rookie's had it going on all night long. And it looks like of all the drivers in the field here, Alex Kim, 16th up to 8th. He's one of those guys with big gains, but none bigger right now than Jared Davis. Davis Shades of a Brad Patton type run as he's come in from 28th on the grid and not taking a time and has gone up into 3rd. If he gets up there on Campbell and Lane, he might just be able to win it, but watch right now between those two. Nate is looking for the championship lead and he's looking for a victory again. You've got Ethan Lane here, who again takes the race lead, win number 11. And when will it stop for Ethan Lane? So far, there has been no stopping this number 6 team. Campbell is looking for his first ever, mind you. The rookie has been so close time and again. Lane, to this point on the season, has, of course, stage victories, 8. Campbell having 3. That's the only win that Campbell's been able to fully come away with to this point in his career. And what a statement it would be if he's able to get that first win now in the championship round. He's been close. He has been frustratingly close at times. But the frustration can end if he only gets through and wins it this time by. "12 laps to go. Coming right up next. A dozen to do it now as Ross Cato has fallen back into P6. Not a bad spot to be in again, but the competition level being so stiff, he still has 2 championship rivals who are ahead of him, and Sam Nieto is immediately behind. Campbell and Lane are just running at the top of their game, and when we say the top, we mean the absolute apex of it. The first and second, with the running they've done, and now they're setting some of the fastest laps we've seen all night long. We've seen laps within a few tenths of qualifying times, and so late in the going, not only does it matter that they've got that new equipment, but it matters that they're staying focused behind the wheel, and it looks like clearly that is still what's going on. To the inside goes Jared Davis. Davis trying to get it on Nate Campbell here. That would be another spot. That would make it 26 spots gained, and it looks like he will get by Campbell. How easy will Ethan Lane let it up? Is he going to try to hang out here and keep the race lead? Or instead, is it going to be Davis forced to fight back, take it on his own merits? We'll see. 11 laps to go. Caution's out. 3rd of the day, and it involves John DeBarro and the number 14. And that's going to be Brock Potter. So take a look back for some more problems. Looks like DeBarro actually ran into the incident later on. Contact. And Eli Carr spinning around Brock Potter. And he's able to keep it straight for the most part, even with being tagged twice. The nose never fully pointed anywhere other than ahead of him. Take a ride on board. Eli Cars did a lot of work to point Potter one way and the next, but he should be able to continue on. 10 laps to go. Ethan Lane leads, and the field will be coming to the single digits, restarting with about 7 laps to go when we head at it again. Got a little bit of time to spare, so we'll send you to some non-stop coverage live on FTN, and you won't miss a thing. We'll return with One to Green to explain what happens from here in the championship overview at this point. Stay with us live on FTN Broadcasting. We'll return right after this.
Welcome to the Underdog Racing Podcast, where we talk to NASCAR drivers from all over the great country of America. Each week, we chat about the latest races, share stories from the track, and get to know the drivers behind the wheel. We break down the action, hear from drivers about their experiences, and dive into what drives them to keep racing. Whether you're a longtime NASCAR fan or just curious about the sport, this is the place for you. So tune in to the Underdog Racing Podcast, your inside look at the world of NASCAR. Catch us every Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern.
Returning to green with 7 laps remaining. Ethan Lane is in control. If we have another caution from this point, we are very close to hitting the overtime barrier. Cautions after lap number 96. They are set to send us into overtime racing. So, if we have a stint any shorter than 2 laps to go, or rather, any shorter than the next 2 laps, we might not go to overtime. But at this rate anyway, if we already get a caution, it is almost 100% going to take us to that point. A green-white checkered, whether it is an extension of the race or not. And if we go past lap number 98, it is an absolute guarantee that it will be a race-extending caution, and it will serve as one of our first of 3 overtime attempts. Lane on the bottom. Davis now finds himself rolling in second. What you got to look at right here, of course, is Nate Campbell running right behind Lane. 2 rows back on Campbell is where Ross Cato finds himself. And as for Sam Nieto in the number 2 has taken it back on a riskier call and is now in 21st place. We'll see what happens now, because strategy-wise, there's a split. Nieto betting on himself to take some fresher equipment up to the head of the field, and doing so in quick time. The other 3 in this championship race have decided to maintain track position, either staying up front and hoping it sticks, or betting on yourself. Sam Nieto taking a lofty risk with these final 7 laps ahead of us. Green flag is out. Ethan Lane's got the green, and it's in his hands. It's going to be your 3rd restart of the day, and the number 6 team is now on the move. Davis side by side with Campbell quickly, but nobody can keep up with Ethan Lane. Big contact, Galen Gidman, Bobby Keith, all around. It's Richard Smith as well, and your biggest incident of the day right off the restart, caution number 4. Watch this. Smith right here was at the top of the racing circuit, and it looks like it began with Bobby Keith. So this was 3 wide, going through 1 and 2. Wetmore contact, sends Keith up the track, hits McClendon, hits Yazik. Gidman slides and gets into Richard Smith. Smith being one of the last drivers involved. And I don't know if he would have had a way around at all. Take a look on board with the number 23. Smith finding himself at the ceiling of the circuit, going through 1 and 2. I don't think there was enough time for him to react here. It was a cloud of smoke. And he goes down. Wow, I cannot believe Gidman was impossible to see. Unimaginably, Richard Smith hits the worst part. Take a look inside the cockpit this time. We were on the cockpit, now we're going in. Richard finding himself in the worst possible position to go through. And we're going to slow it down. When do you see the driver ahead? When do you see Galen Gidman? I don't see him here. I don't see him here at all. Now you might see a trace. You might. But he's still almost impossible to see right until he's there. Harsh. Very harsh for Richard Smith. That's the type of mistake you only escape by being lucky. Simply put. That's the simplest way to put it. And it's unfortunate for Smith having a solid race, running up there and getting into the top 20. Looked like he was going to stay in that fight. But now with damage on the front end and an inescapable circumstance. Caution flies with 5 laps to go. restart with 3. We were right on the clip, as we mentioned, of what we call the overtime barrier. And with that caution coming out so fast, it means that we're going to see a 3-lap to go shootout rather than just a 2-lap run. So we're not heading into overtime. Another caution will, however, automatically mean we are heading to OT. Ethan Lane goes low. Nate Campbell gonna end up going high by that token. We'll see what the call on the field is for the number 6, but as he's done all throughout, it looks like he is going to stick it to the bottom and keep it there. 1 to green. 3 laps and 6 miles is all that it's going to take to get to the checkered flag here. Talking about betting on himself, Sam Nieto is the driver in the number 2 here. He is now up to 14th. We mentioned he was outside the top 20. He's made a few spots up, but this is an issue here. He's fallen to the back. What is he going to do now that he has so little time to keep making it up? Making it to the top 10 is possible, without a doubt, but is it going to be likely that he goes anywhere further? 4 laps to go, coming to 3. He's going to have to basically be flat-footed down the straights and try not to stop at all during the corners. That's all he's got that will elevate him up there. Again, you've got 3 of your championship contenders within the top 6 places. Ross Cato has a very real chance of getting up there and becoming a top 5 driver. All that matters now is these next few laps. The run to the checkered flag. And while it's an undecided fight right now among these drivers, only one of them will come away. Jared Davis is a very real shot to win. Keep that in mind. He has been very close to these leaders, and he has not yet been able to break through. He hasn't led a lap all day. He could lead that white flag lap, and that could be it. Final restart. Potential for that to be the case. Here we go again. Caution concludes. Restart with 3 laps to go. Ethan Lane brings him back to green. Oh, Davis Campbell, huge contact there. It could have been, and it's going to be Nate Campbell letting off, and he's rocked by Jacob Fife. Down the ladder, now outside of the top 5. Here comes Ross Cato. Ross now finds himself alongside Alex Kim. Nate Campbell is in a tricky spot. He just got shaken there by the number 19 to Davis, and while it didn't look like it was intentional, it is not going to help him at all. Ethan Lane is now... Oh, contact. It's Nieto. Sam Nieto goes around. Caution, we're going to overtime. Green, white, checkered from Fontana. Nieto spins... Championship implications. Watch this. One more time, and it looked like we were going to get there with a checkered flag. But of all the drivers to be involved with a wreck, it's your second championship contender of the day. Nieto is only 5 spots out from where Nick Tarbuck is, even though Nick has been off the track for 61 laps. So he's got to get back on that circuit if he wants any chance of making up some points. And he got spun out of 4. Again, that angle doesn't show it too clear. We'll take it wide and give you a better perspective. Three wide, Brant McClendon, then briefly 4 wide with Casey Shue. They come down the back straightaway. It's still going to be close to 3 wide. No dice just yet. What happens here is that Nieto lunges, gets it in on Wetmore. Then Kyle Cooper's in the mix. And John DeBarro, quarter panel tap right there, just behind the 3 wide Racing. And everyone gets away from Sam, so he's not involved with anyone else. But for him, number 2 team, horrible news. And he's going to have to come back from 24th again from the back of the field on up with little time. Lane occupies a spot that he's been in since the beginning of this race, and it looks like he's going to take it past lap 100. Now, your pole sitter. Leading from flag to flag, not quite. He's been about 20 places up and down the ladder. But it looks like in this moment, none of that matters, because the only spot that he finds himself occupying is the one he's in currently. Now, that sounds like it's an obvious thing, yes. But where he is right now will lead him into the next 2 laps. And, of course, he has the biggest advantage. He'll restart up in front. He'll finish the job perhaps there. And here's how it goes down. If we get to the white flag, this race is official, and they'll run it out to the checkered flag. However, if there's any incident, we will extend the race. In a hypothetical, if Ethan Lane is involved with an incident, he could still come back as long as he's spun out with minimal damage. 2 drivers down to pit road. There's Richard Smith, one of them. Randy Fiash, the next. 3 laps to go. And both of them will stay on lead lap, but only just. Double file with Lane and Davis for your first overtime of the day. Three laps to go. Jacob Fife behind, as is Cody Smith. Blake Cannon going to be just behind Jared Davis. Then Nate Campbell there as well. Ross Cato, 4th row of this fight. And Zach Schrintenall, who's been quiet since the opening quarter of this race, well, it looks like he's also back in the mix. Don't count out Zach. He's there as well. 2 laps to go. Overtime attempt number 1. A caution sends us to our second. The white flag sends us to the end of the race. Jared Davis takes it to that second groove, of course, but not with a choice. Will he be able to use it well? As of late, it just looks like whoever gets the restart gets the race win. Unfortunately, sometimes that's the trend that happens in these late races where cautions begin to read cautions and it becomes more predictable. Lane so far has been able to get the launch off each and every time without hesitation. I don't think that's going to change now, but we'll see what happens as we get ready to roll again. Pace car is to pit road. Ethan Lane and Jared Davis begin your first overtime attempt as leaders. Lane gets the better of Davis. Watching behind is Jacob Fife. Green flags out. Oh, huge contact. Cato involved. It's the big one from Fontana. Pull it back because we just had an explosive wreck to start overtime racing. And Cato is involved. Another championship contender. Schrintenall into Cato. Into the 37 of Alex Kim. And then up the line goes the 37. This is unbelievable. Then Kyle Cooper, Tom Wetmore involved. John DeBarro, Casey Shue, Eric McFarland. Sam Nieto gets away. Big for the number 2. That will gain him at least 7 spots, most likely more than 10. Whereas Ross Cato, who has to get away from the mangled wrecks around him, now has right front damage. So in the last 2 wrecks, Nieto and Cato have been involved. Sam gets up to 12th. That's a gain of 12 spots thanks to 1 incident. Three to go, coming to 2 to go. So the second attempt, still the same rules. Another caution will give us 1 more opportunity to go at it again. There's no immediate concern, at least for the time being. The checkered flag is, of course, dependent on these yellows. We could go up to about lap 110. We could go till about a lap 107. That's our estimated conclusion to this point. 1 to green. Next time by. Biggest mover inside the top 10, Jared Davis, 25 spots up, 28th to 3rd. Then you'll have up 8, Cody Smith, and up 7, Brant McClendon, 15th to 8th for Brant, and up the 8 from 14th to 6th for Cody Smith. We have 24 on the lead lap, the last of which is John DeBarro. I don't know if he's going to be on the lead lap after that one. He's on pit road. But Randy Fiash gets away. Your 30th place qualifier now runs in 23rd, so he will be on the lead lap no matter what. Wetmore returns as well from pit road. Casey Shue still on pit road here. We might see just about 21 from there. Six of Lane, ready to do battle. Jacob Fife second, Jared Davis third, and Blake Cannon in fourth. So Cannon and Davis and Fife as well, you've got 3 of these drivers who are not championship eligible, now looking for the win. And Lane is surrounded by a different crop of guys in this field who have 2 different intentions. Of course, they don't want to get involved in the championship race, but better yet, they want to win, and it's in their right to do whatever they need. So we're going to see some very tight racing, and Lane now has to deal with a new crop who are set to fight for the checkered flag. Three to go. Blake Cannon, just ever so slightly high. Double file again, and it looks like it's going to be 23 officially on the lead lap. Here's Casey Shue with a little bit of a mangled machine getting back at it. Ross Cato is in 15th, so he will not quit here. The only thing he can do is stay at it for these next 2 laps. The upside of doing so will be huge. However, there could be some slight downside of just dropping further back. We'll find out what happens next in this 4-mile sprint. Double overtime from Fontana, California. The leader of all is Ethan Lane, the number 6. For the green flag, of course, Lane has seen it now a total of 5 times from initial starts and restarts. He's hoping it'll be his last. He just has to get across the line for 1 more lap and finish the job on the next. Green flag's out, a little bit of a shuffle. Inside line stacks up, but they'll keep it clean and they will keep it green. 2 laps to go, double overtime. It's your second green-white checkered, and Lane gets the bump off Davis to pull into 1. Blake Cannon way high, and the battle for the lead now sees these drivers going at each other. Jared Davis falling back. Looks like that damage is not going to help him in the least. Blake Cannon takes 3rd, looking for 2 consecutive podiums. Here comes Jacob Fife. Fife for 2nd, Ethan Lane for P1. 1 lap to go this time by. This is it. Final lap. It's all Jacob Fife fighting for Blake Cannon's 2nd place. White flag is out for Lane here, and he just has to go 4 more corners into 1. He's got the advantage. Further back, Sam Nieto's gotten into 10th. Ross Cato in 13th, but there's no match right now for Lane nor Campbell. Campbell looks for a top 5 placement, but Ethan Lane will strive for the win. What can Jacob Fife do now? Fife into 3 and 4, lunging low. Cannon tries the high side, but neither of them will come even close. Ethan Lane, with his 11th win of the season, opens up the championship fight with victory. He'll keep the points lead and head to Martinsville with the advantage in the title race. Big advantage, big win. Lane in the number 6 does it again. 12th pole, 11th win. The numbers speak for themselves. Ethan Lane collects another one, and now he's got a shot to go for up to 13 on the season. He is right behind the number he set last year, 14 of the Octane Series, and he collects his 20th win this season in the Integrity Racing League across both the Ignite and Octane Series. The best driver in the biggest circumstance comes through. From pole to victory, Lane does it again. Ethan for 11. And these are numbers we saw last year, but they're still unthinkable to replicate them again and again. Lane collects a huge victory to open up the final round, leads 42 laps. Cannon leads 46 and takes second. Jacob Fife wraps up the podium with Cody Smith, Zach Schrintenel, and Nate Campbell then P6. Jared Davis, Galen Gidman, Sam Nieto, and Josh Gallagher wrap up the top 10. And then you'll have 11th place in the form of Brett McClendon. Bobby Keith goes 12th, Ross Cato 13th, Eric McFarland 14th, Tom Wetmore P15, and Richard Smith 16th, with Brian Yazik, Randy Fiash, Eli Cars, and Kyle Cooper wrapping up the top 20. Final drivers on the day: Casey Shue, Brock Potter, John Zabaro, Alex Kim, Nicholas Ward, Aaron Eads, Matt Sizzler, Nick Tarbuck in 28th. Huge incident for him to send to the back of the field. Brad Patton 29th, and Sean Kalist for 30th. Last two registrations: John Stevenson and the rookie Jeff Chandler, 32nd and last. Now, of course, we got to hear from the drivers who got it done tonight. First and foremost is the man in that number 6, Ethan Lane, who pulls away with the win that, of course, isn't the biggest of surprises, but still a huge performance all the same. Let's find out now what it was like behind the wheel for Lane, who led the second most laps on the night. Wasn't able to come away with the most laps led, but what matters most is that final lap he led. That's what brings him the victory, and that's what's going to bring him right into the broadcast booth. For the 11th time this season, Ethan Lane, you're a winner of the Octane Series, and perhaps in your most important race here ever. And you go from the front of the field to very far behind to leading and winning again.
Yeah, no, it was an interesting race. It was kind of like Michigan. Knowing it was gonna be fuel mileage, I was like, okay, we're gonna save fuel, and I thought we were gonna fall as far back as we did at Michigan, but we didn't, and we actually were able to drive our way through the field before pit stops. So that was actually shocking, but exciting as well. Um, yeah, no, I'm glad we got the win. Definitely a very important one to start this round of 5.
And you mentioned what the start of the strategy call was. You fell back all the way into about 18th place and were still able to make it back up. So I got to ask, first off, that was part of what looked to be a fuel-saving strategy? Definitely, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. There was a couple of us who did it or who were gonna do it. And it worked out. I'm actually glad I was able to get the stage win over Nate there because he was on that same strategy a little bit. Um, so yeah, no, it definitely was strategy. And then once we had that first caution, it was all about maintaining track position.
And it all came down to yellow flags, restarts, and for the middle stage of the race and toward the end, you had 4 championship contenders all around you. How was it like dealing with that pressure all through in those final stages?
I mean, it's just like every week you deal with pressure, so you got to do what you got to do. It's definitely stressful because you don't want to wreck them, and you're hoping they don't wreck you. So glad everyone was able to race everyone clean. Kind of wish it went green the whole race though.
All things considered, great race for the number 6 team to start this championship fight. Next up, Martinsville. How's it going to feel heading back to the short tracks?
It's gonna be interesting in this car for sure. Hopefully we can duplicate what we did in the Night series and come out with another W.
Win number 12, chasing that in Virginia. But until then, Ethan Lane, you're a winner here from Auto Club. Anything else you'd like to leave us with?
Just thank you to you putting on these broadcasts. Everyone at Integrity, fun first half of the race, kind of decent third quarter, but overall was fun. And Fife and everyone putting on these races. This will be a fun 2 more weeks.
2 more weeks, 2 more chances, and to start the championship fight, a winner again is Ethan Lane. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And it looks like Blake Cannon was able to outdo himself from last night, going from what was 8th place to 2nd today. And of course, he was able to finish P3, and now from P3 Monday, he'll go P2 today. Blake Cannon able to make the most out of the last moments, and you led the most laps of anyone with 46 led today. How was it out there, Blake?
Yeah, it was good. Unfortunately, we weren't in the final five, so coming into tonight, I didn't want to mess up any playoff drivers, so I went really hard early while a lot of guys were trying to save fuel and make it on one stop, and I went really hard and led a lot of laps. And I figured if I got off sequence with them guys, I wouldn't affect them as much. So then we started having cautions, and then I would push Nate or Ross or Sam or Ethan. Like I was trying to do all I could to not race them hard and give them the best chance possible. And then once we had them flurry of cautions at the end, I just decided that fuck it, I'm just gonna race hard. So um, I was able to make that very top line work on the restarts, and it was fun, man. It was a lot of fun.
Now, you mentioned you ended up going intentionally off cycle with those drivers around us. So I got to ask, how are you going to try to pull yourself back later in the going if we went green?
I really, honestly, I wasn't going to. I just had it in my head that I was going to two-stop it and, not even race up front because I don't want to be the guy that goes up there and makes a mistake and costs somebody in the playoffs, a good run. Like, I don't know if Brad wrecked Nick or what happened, but, unfortunately for Nick to have a bad race and get taken out by somebody else who's not in the playoffs, like, I know it's a racing deal, but I didn't want to be that guy. So there was no chance if we went green to checker that I was going to be able to make my way back up front. And I was okay with that.
Well, all things considered, it looks like you still found your way to the top of the field no matter what. In both series, we're going to Virginia, and we're heading down for Martinsville next Tuesday night. What are your goals for that race?
Man, I really don't want to get in the way of these playoff guys, but I really do love Martinsville. So we'll just see how it goes. I'm not going to do anything stupid. I'm not going to race these guys extremely hard. I feel like I raced a lot of these playoff guys with a lot of respect tonight. So you can expect the same next week. But, I'm out here to get a good run for myself and my team as well. We got a lot to prove. We've had a really good year. And, just because we didn't make the final five doesn't mean that, we're just going to roll over and wait for next year.
Job's not finished on Tuesday nights, as you've still got yourself a title to look at on the Mondays as well. Blake Cannon, checkered flag, P2, here from Fontana. Anything else you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, I just want to shout out everybody at Roadhouse. Finally a Tuesday night where both Roadhouse cars finished, and we actually had our third Roadhouse car with Eric McFarland. So, hats off to all them guys. We had a clean race, which is good. Maybe we can move on and do it again next Tuesday. But just hats off to all them guys for sticking with me through this year. We've had a really good year. Nothing to hang our heads on. I know it's disappointing that one of us didn't make the final five, but hey, it happens. We've had a good year. Got to thank everybody in Integrity Racing League. We had a lot of green flag laps tonight. The setup was tricky. Tire wear was tricky. But Fontana always races really, really good. So hats off to all them guys. Hats off to you at the broadcast booth. You always do a great job, and we do appreciate it.
Blake Cannon, P2 on the day, and wrapping up twin podiums from both the Ignite and Octane series. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David.
Cannon on the move. One more driver to speak to, the number 36 of Jacob Fife. Fife ends our podium today, and perhaps a bit of a shock that he did so. He was up in front, he qualified solidly, but ended up coming on strong late to take a podium in the late going. Jacob, it looks like the best of these races, or the best of these moments today in this race, came at the end, and you capitalized big time.
Yeah, I thought we had a solid car all night. Really was about fuel strategy there at the beginning. So kind of bided our time, and we were kind of picking some people off, and felt pretty good about where things were going to end up if we had stayed green there. But obviously, we got a little caution happy there at the end, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, people keep making mistakes, and one little mistake here, and you lose 5 spots. So was able to take advantage of that, and kind of battle there for second at the end with Blake, and bring it home with a podium finish tonight.
Now, this number 36 team not fighting for the championship, but of course, each and every week, still a chance to go out here and win. You've thrived, especially by doing things different late in the going. Could you walk us through your strategy after the yellow flag set in?
Yeah, I mean, we had pretty much the strategy was pretty much laid out, really. So it was a matter if you thought you were going to have a longer green flag run of letting some of those guys kind of go and burn their stuff up, and seeing where we kind of wound up there. I thought I was better in a longer run, so I had a little patience for that tonight. But yeah, I mean, once the caution started falling there, it was really just trying to get a good restart, picking a line that nobody was in as best you could, or at least the car in front of you anyway, because it is very aero dependent with these next gen cars. So kind of choosing that, keeping your momentum up with ski. I think after a few laps if you're stuck on the bottom, it's really hard to complete a pass. So got on the outside a couple times there, was able to advance before the next caution came out, and lo and behold, we were at second there before the last restart there.
All things considered, right place at the right time, and all the laps and overtimes just gave better opportunities. We're heading back down to Virginia. We got Martinsville back on the schedule. It's a track that we saw in the Ignite series, and it was tricky to get those long runs going. When it comes to the series as a whole, you think the goal from there is just to get some more time with racing in mind?
Yeah, I sure hope so. Martinsville's a really good track to race at if you can get those longer green flag runs. But it's also one of the more, even as small as it is, it's one of the more technical and more difficult tracks to get around. And the more cars you have, the more difficult it is, because everybody has different braking points and different rhythm of how to get around. And so trying to get a green flag run does seem to be a little bit more difficult. But at the end of the day, I think. And I say this every week, this group has the ability to do it. It's just having that patience there at the beginning of a race, kind of like we did tonight, right? We had 60 laps green flag. That was awesome. Um, we have the ability to do it. It's just you have to be patient. You have to give room and let people go sometimes. And it's when you get down to the playoffs, it's the end of the season or end of the year, and people are battling for positioning there in the top five, especially. And then the guys who are out of the playoffs are still battling for different prizes and whatnot. It's a little easier said than done. So I get it to an extent, but definitely would love to see some green flag racing at Martinsville next week. That would be a really great race if that were to happen.
That said, 2 more races left on the calendar and some final momentum to push the 36 team over the line. Jacob Fife, if you have anything else to leave us with, the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, as always, thank you, David, for doing these broadcasts. You do a fantastic job. We love having you. Um, Also, want to thank our sponsors as always. I want to thank SimMotion, Next Level Racing, Vex Vision, Pro Powder and Paint, all of the people who help us kind of keep the wheels moving around here. And then, as always, want to thank my admin team and all the members for both Monday and Tuesday night who come out each week. We've had some great turnouts throughout the year, alongside some great racing to go with it. So without our members, this wouldn't be possible. So I want to thank them for coming out each and every week, and I hope we're able to end both series on a really solid note here. That'd be great.
Jacob Fife wraps up the podium today from Auto Club Speedway and makes the best out of the late going to take the top 3. Thank you for your time, Jacob.
Thanks, man. Have a good night.
With Jacob on the way, you've gotten a word from your podium finishers. Fife in third, Cannon in second, and Ethan Lane, your race winner. It's Ethan's 11th, going alongside his 12th podium, and so we only have 2 more races to go in the 2025 Octane Series schedule. It begins again. Martinsville Speedway, our penultimate race. That's next Tuesday night, and we hope you join us for coverage there. The Ignite Series will be racing as well. They'll be going to Bristol, Motor Speedway, so we hope that you enjoy our coverage of the next round, the 29th round of the Integrity Racing League. Until then, I've been your host, David Kreutz, commentating and producing. If you enjoyed, leave a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel. Your support is always greatly appreciated. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Congratulations to Ethan Lane on his 11th win of the season. We hope to have you back for our next broadcast from FTN Broadcasting. We hope you have a fantastic night.